Failing is not the problem here. It's when we make those failures permanent that becomes the problem. So I don't want to hear about only your successes without hearing about your failures. It's a journey forged by crucibles, battles, and messy processes. Here, we honor your pain, then we celebrate your triumph. Your truth is what's inspirational. So welcome to the Eternal Lessons Podcast.
Devin T, man, we're back at it.
Good morning.
And good morning, man. And things have changed a little bit for
Yeah, I'm
us.
crispy this time.
Yeah, your camera looks better. So how are you doing right now?
I'm good. It's
early.
snowing. It's early. It's a snowy day here in New York City. I'm across from my window. It looks beautiful outside, so feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm hanging in there, I'm still in that in-between stage, figuring life out between the Army and my transition. But overall, I'm excited and, just new opportunities on the horizon. So can't really complain about anything. We're also moving here soon. So I'm like packing up the house, painting the
Nice.
new house.
Nice.
It's a lot that's happening. So
Yeah, transitions are great though. I think I love a great transition. I'm like a real mover. I think when I was younger, we moved around a lot, like every 3 or 4 years because my parents were military brats, and I think it was just like in their DNA to like move around, and I kind of share that. So I've moved a ton over the last 10, 12 years, and I don't know, I like it. Sometimes you just need to new scenery,
dude,
new
100%.
everything.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up a point. I'm glad you say the term transition, because when I was at TAC at West Point, I sent out an email, and one of my mentees, he still talks about this impactful email, and I spelled out, I said, I was talking to my company, I said, you have to master your transitions, because you are just in a better place if you can understand that things are going to change and you can anticipate those changes by mastering what that transition is going to look like, and you don't allow that transition to throw you off because it's something that you're just not accustomed to, or you're interacting with new stuff on the other side of that transition. So you just got to learn how to transition.
Yeah. And I think also one of the things is people have to reject the idea that you're trying to get to some type of steady state. I never understand. I mean, to me, life is full of change and full of transition. And so the biggest enemy, I think, for people is this internal idea that they're just trying to get to a steady state. As I move through my life and go on to get married and whatnot, something that me and my partner talk a lot about finding like the forever home. And I'm like, I don't really know that that's what I'm looking for. Right. Like, is that what we're doing? Is a situation where we're just going to buy this house and live there for 40 years? Like, I understand that some people do that.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that that's like the goal that I'm necessarily looking for. Because I think it keeps you on your toes a little bit as well. Like, I'm like, hopefully we have a better, or like not, and it's a balance, right? It's a balance between chasing the upgrade all the time, and balancing that with okay, like I finally got to this place and kind of living that plateau. So I think there's a healthy a balance of like, rising, plateauing, or just changing, in general.
Yeah, the capability of change, or identifying and then going through change. It's like, how do you stay formless? You have shape, or not formless, but how do you have form and then go into this formless state where you can be malleable and then go back into this form? Like you're pivoting between these 2 points, which it just requires reps and sets. And if you are not accustomed to going through those transitions, then whenever they happen, you're going to be everywhere. It's going to be painful for you.
Absolutely. And I also try to at each stage of my life really set real goals, real outcomes, identify the things that I think, okay, last year I set these goals, I accomplished them, but I can identify these things that were either plaguing me or I thought were difficult, or that, I'm a big I look at fear a lot, or just like, what was I worried about? What was I worried about? What was I scared about? And how do we tackle that? How do we take action against that? Because fear often is just your awareness that you lack in some way.
Mm,
And I feel that the best way to tackle fears is to just accept that that's a true thing and then go after taking action to figure out like how can we get better at that, right? So people are like, they want to, let's say in a physical activity, they're like, man, I've always wanted to do X, Y, Z, right? They haven't, because when they start thinking about it, they're like, oh, let's say a marathon, they're like, oh man, like I don't run. And what if I don't do it? And that there's a plan of action that can be attacked for that. You
yeah,
can, you can get a running plan. You can,
dude,
you can sit down and you can do that. If you want to get
yeah,
better at your pull-ups, you can do the assisted machine, you can do the banded, right? So it's just the idea of welcoming and allowing growth to come into your life by accepting the fact that there's some work,
yeah.
and there's some things that you can do to ensure your success.
Dude, the way you say fear, to me, fear is perceived, it's a perceived threat. And
Mm,
it's not a real, it doesn't have to be a real threat. You've made it a threat in your head through your perceptions of whatever it is that you're experiencing. And to attack that or to get over that is to understand why you believe this is a threat. And your body is consistently sending data to you through anxiety, through fear, these emotional things that people feel. It's your body picking up on cues, and it's data that you have to read. And then the receiver, like who is the author rather, who is is reading and interpreting this thing. Um, they are the ones that's giving credence to this fear and these feelings. And they own it. We own it. So anytime I feel fear, it's like, okay, why do I have this fear? And then I try to understand it because it's my body's fight or flight response, this natural data based on my perceptions. But yeah, man. So this is why, just rolling in here for the purpose of this show. This is why, Devin, I've asked you, and I'm making a huge announcement here because this is big for the Eternal Lesson Show. I've asked you to be my co-host here, and you have gracefully accepted this, and we're excited to move forward and just build out the Eternal Lesson Show and make it wildly impactful for everyone that's listening in. So I just want to publicly say here in this forum that I'm lucky. We are lucky to have you, and we are super excited to see the evolution of the Eternal Lesson Show.
yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be a part of it. Just trying to. I'm really passionate about trying to help people through their problems. Some of the problems that we're talking about right now. I have problems every year, every month, every day. But definitely there are so many ways and so many mechanisms that I've learned over the years to, like we're saying, attack those problems and continue to achieve success. And yeah, just to be able to share those experiences, and mostly I'm here for encouragement. I'm here to encourage everybody that, like, I'm telling you, over time I'll tell you all about all the dark times I've seen in my life, but
Yeah.
listen, it's all good, right? If you just keep on it, the light comes in the morning. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to talk to all the emerging leaders and continue to give words of encouragement and some actual field tips that I've used to be able to plan and achieve success and work through the failures and fears that life brings.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, man. So I do want to spend a few moments talking about, well, one, why Devin? Why did I think Devin T would be the best fit to be a co-host? And then I want to move into like why does the Eternal Lesson Show, as I thought about it and reflected, why do we even need a co-host? Like what is this dynamic going to offer us as we move forward and build out the show and hope to do what its mission is built to do. So Devin, you're such a you've been a friend of mine for many years, and you have the most colorful personality, and you're also you're willing to debate, you know, you're willing to tell the world your truth. And I think that you've gone through your own experiences in life, and I know this because I'm your friend and we're close. You've gone through your own experiences where you have stopped allowing society or the people that, you know, wield some degree of influence over you tell you how to live your life and what right means to you. Like, you have identified and defined that for yourself. Like, this is what my true north is. And then you live that ruthlessly. You live that in every way. So that's inspirational for me. And it's always served as a guardrail for me to understand, like, hey, Shawn, you have to decide for yourself who you want to be, how you want to show up, and what your impact is. And I think for emerging leaders, they're out in this space in the world leading, and they don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
So when you think about this show, and as we bring guests on and we hear their stories and their leadership challenges, I hope that you and I, as this duo here as co-hosts, can help shape a better understanding of, hey, you guys got to, one, identify who you want to be, and then you got to ruthlessly chase that, and then you could refine over time, and sharing your stories and giving your perspective. I think that's key. And also, as I was thinking about who I wanted my co-host to be here, one of the best presidents of the United, or former presidents of the United States, that I like to read about is Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And during his time running for office, it was a contentious period. And he had a lot of adversaries, or people who, you know, ran against him and didn't believe in his ideas. He ended up getting elected, obviously, and he just did the most unconventional thing. He went and pulled people that were against him into his administration. And he thought to himself, like, if I can convince my adversaries, if I can convince the people who oppose me, then that is my true north. That then I am doing the right things, right? And he wanted debate. He wanted people that did not think like him. He
Absolutely.
wanted to be stretched. And I think, you know, that's how I try to lead. I try to do this everywhere I go. It's like I take over something and I'm leading this organization. I want naysayers. I want people who are going to push back. I want people who are going to be resistant. Like, all that stuff helps me refine my ideas and make it more palatable and make it more compelling for them to follow. Because leadership is hard. It's not easy. There's, you know, putting a leader in a formation, or putting a leader in front of an organization. You're not just there to sit there, you know? You're
Sure.
there to do the hard work, man. And some people view this leadership thing as it's supposed to be frictionless and easy, but it's not. It's hard work. So as I thought about bringing you on, I'm like, man, Devin offers the right blend of, you know, intellect and friction and pushback. And I'm not going to be able to tell you not to share your ideas.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
never
that.
have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, no, it's great. I think we have a very, you know, obviously we've had similar experiences, but we go about things in different ways sometimes, and so I think it's important for people to engage. Like, the real intellectual experience is comparative analysis. It's listening to different viewpoints and finding the threads and kind of synthesizing where you stand in all of it, right? I have a very outcome-based approach to what I always talk about, which is, you know, coming from a lot of my training at West Point or in the Army about at the end of the day, there's commander's intent, there's a mission objective, right? And leadership is about stewarding the group and the unit towards that commander's intent and that mission
Right.
objective, right? So if we can all stay aligned on what exactly we're trying to accomplish here, then it cuts out a lot of the noise that's happening. Other people feel like it's, leadership is EQ first and about leading the people and, making sure that they try. And all of those things are true. But at the end of the day, all of those things are in the service of accomplishing the mission objective, right? That's a way that we do the job, right? But the job at the end of the day is always to steward everyone towards the completion, a successful completion of the mission objective. And so, I think that's kind of my theory and the way that I like to go about it. So that's what keeps me in the lines, man. It's what
Yeah.
keeps me focused. Of just when I get lost, I always just ask myself, like, okay, wait. What is it that we were trying to do here? Like,
Yeah.
what were we trying to accomplish? And so, yeah, I'm happy to be here and happy to be able to provide some of that comparative analysis and just another voice and another idea set so that people can find their way.
Yeah. No, it's good. You bring something up, and I'll pose our first challenge here before I talk about the evolution of the show. What do you think is most important? Because you talk about the ends. Is it the ends, ways, or means?
I'm an ends guy.
Mm,
I think that the ways and the means are ways that we can teach ourselves how to stay focused on the end and how to get there. But again, if we go back to a race or a marathon, right, the point is to get, start at the starting line and finish at the finish line, right? Pacing, training, nutrition, those are all the ways that you ensure that you get from the start to the finish. But at the end of the day, the actual mission set here is to accomplish what you started. And I think that in almost everything in life, you can break it down into a way that you can. The reason the ends is because it gives you a way to measure. It gives
mm,
you a way to measure your performance and understand whether you completed what you were trying to set out to do. And I think the journey is really impactful as well. But again, the journey is a part of going somewhere. And so if are just wandering around in the desert, like I guess that's a journey, but where did you go?
yeah.
Where were you trying to go? And I think that sometimes in this day and age, people kind of don't want to emphasize the end. They don't want to emphasize the idea that there should be some type of mission objective, and that's why they're lost, right?
Mm,
So, like land nav, you get points. Land navigation, for those who don't know, right? You get points that you're trying to find. If you didn't have the points that you were trying to find, then like you would just be walking around in the woods, and like that's cool if you're like on a nature walk, right? But I mean, you know, then it's just a nature walk. And that's something that you can't get wrong. Like you can't get wrong just walking around in the woods. You know what I mean? And so if that's the experience to listen to the birds and to listen to the crunch on your feet, then that's amazing. But again, that's still the end of that exercise was to
yeah.
go be one with nature, to go identify these birds. So I think giving some mission objectives and some ends allows for clarity and allows for success. And most often when I talk to people who are suffering from not knowing where they're going, not knowing what they're doing in their career, not handling a transition, it's because they are refusing to give themselves an end and an objective of which they're trying to accomplish. Whether that's because they're afraid to say it out loud, whether it's because they're afraid to, put it. I'm like a really just like, hey, that's what we're going after. And if you say what you're going after, almost always you can get it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's I'm an ends guy. I'm an
Yeah.
ends for sure.
No, no, I love it. And I appreciate how you say I'm an ends guy. I bring this up when I was at the Naval War College a few years ago, and I was studying strategy and war. We got posed that quite. Our instructor came in and asked the same question, and we're in this seminar of like 12 people, and we're like debating about, and at the time I'm like, okay, the ends, I'm spending probably, I'm giving it a concerted effort, of course, but I'm in the ways, man. I'm like digging into ways to get to the end. The end is important. I mean, you got to start with the end in mind. You got to know where you're going, right? Like
You have to
you
know.
bring up the land navigation comparison here. You're right. I need to know where my grid coordinates are. Where am I going? But a lot of my energy though is route planning,
Sure.
pace counting,
Sure.
plotting, that's where a lot of the details, and if I were to going back, through my military training, like doing land navigation, people mess it up when they don't do the stuff in between, right?
That's true.
Generally they know how to plot. They could put a dot on the map and say, I know where I'm going. But how to get there, that's tough. So I was explaining this to my teammates, right? And we're arguing, debating and stuff like that. And then the instructor says, it's funny you guys debate this because, the way we teach it here is a three-legged stool. You need resources in all three of those things. You need to understand ways, ends, and means as it exists in one stool in order for you to achieve the strategic outcome. So
sure,
there is not one, but I know we are biased a little bit to one that we would spend the most time on. I'm a ways type of guy.
I don't know. I think like I don't know. I would, as my first episode start of like, okay, let's go through the noodling here. I would argue that the ways and the means are the two legs that support the bar stool of the ends. Right. I don't even think that the ways and means are on the same plane as the end.
Wow.
At all. Right.
Okay.
Because ways and means are, let's say, the train tracks, like, right, they're the vessel by which that you accomplish things, right? But the thing and its accomplishment are the thing and its accomplishment, right? So you can't, they're not even the same. So let me give an example. Okay. So in the same way we're talking about land navigation, the goal of the land navigation exercise, let's say, is to find 4 of your assigned points out of 5 inside the time bracket, right? So let's say you're at Ranger School, you got 5 hours, 5 points, got to get 4. You start at this grid and you end at the same start point generally, right? And you have 5 hours, 2.5 hours of night, 2.5 hours of day to go find these points and bring back to the starting point all of your grid coordinates with your punch card, right? So that's the end. The end is 4 out of 5 in 5 hours, 2.5 day, 2.5 night. Okay. The way is that you could do it where you go to your farthest point at night. So you spend a lot of time walking while you're in the nighttime. And that's the way that you like waste time and utilize the resources, right? The means could be you could run, you could walk, you could stroll, you could crawl, you could like sit under a tree until it's daytime, right? But you're going to have to run around, right? So at the end of the day, when we start talking about ways and means, these are just the ways that the ways that we're trying to accomplish the thing, but the end is like uncompromised. Like, I mean, if you don't get there at the end of the time with your 4 points, you lose. That's it. Right. And sometimes people don't want it to be that binary, but honestly, almost always when you're trying to set an outcome or an objective, it is that binary. You either got it or you didn't get it. And that's, it brings me into a conversation about failure often. I always just tell people every day that you don't have the accomplishment of your objective is exactly the same. So you can look at all the failure and be down and, oh, like I tried, but I didn't get it. But if you think about it, if you tried and didn't get it and you didn't try and didn't get it, you still didn't accomplish your objective. Right. So, I'm a big, trophy guy. It's like, listen, if you want to be a champion, every day that you don't have the trophy, you're not a champion. So it's very binary, right? You either are the champion or you're not the champion. I don't care about how much you tried. I don't care about how you tried to get there and all that. Like that's it. It's like champion, no champion. So every day that I don't have my trophy is exactly the same to me. And I don't worship failure, right? I don't worship failure because it doesn't matter. It's the same, right? Instead, I'm more on the success part. When I worked at West Point, I used to work with a lot of kids who were struggling in the program. Every time I found this metaphor to explain to them. It's kind of meta, but I would always ask them, okay, do you love to win or do you hate to lose? And almost always the low performing cadets would tell me, oh, sir, I hate losing. I hate losing. And I say, that's what your problem is. And they would be like, what do you mean? And I'd say, okay, think about it this way. If there's 5 of us and we're in a race to the car, let's just say, hey, last one to the car has to buy everybody dinner, right? When you hate to lose, if you come in 4th place, you didn't lose, right? And you're like, I'm not the loser, so I don't have to buy the dinner. But when you love to win, you don't want to be 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. You just want to be 1st.
That's right.
Even if you were in no danger of not buying the dinner, there's something different about loving to win and wanting to be number 1 despite all of that. And so what I found is that when people feel like they hate to lose, they spend a lot of time elevating above the floor is what I say.
Yeah.
You know, if the floor is lava, you're just like, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it.
Right.
And so your focus is down. You're trying not to lose, right? Whereas if you love to win, your focus is up. You're trying to be as far away from that ground as possible, right? You're trying to be like up. So you're constantly trying to level up your game. And so that's what I think is a really interesting and important thing to understand about failure, about ways, means. At the end, it's like you need to be focused on how can you get the outcome at the end of the day in the best way that you can, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of lessons in the journey and all that, and that's amazing. But all those lessons are something to try to teach you on how to win better next time.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like just hearing you think through that. Going back to the ends, ways, and means, though, I don't necessarily agree with your analogy on, the 2-legged stool supporting the end. You're the way that you the way that you unpack that, it was simple, but I think it was oversimplified in a way. The way that I view and generally the way ends, ways, and means are used is to create a strategy underneath a policy, right? So you have a policy and then you create a strategy. So the policy in itself is the stool. And you then have to create a strategy to get to the policy goal, right? The policy goal is not necessarily the end. The strategy is the end. Like you're creating an end to that strategy. And then you have your means, and then you have your ways.
Yeah, give me an example. Break it down for me. I gave you an example. You gotta give me an example back. Right?
So I mean, you can take your land nav. I think we could continue to use the land nav example. So I view like the policy from the school, wherever you're at, that's dictating that all students have to get through land nav, or they have to learn land nav, right? That's the policy. All students have to learn land nav and be proficient. Boom. Now, under that policy, you're creating a strategy to get that done. So there is an end. The end is, okay, we define this. How do we define success, or that our students know how to land nav? Well, the end is, we create this course, and this course validates blah, 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 blah. And then you got your means.
No, don't blah, blah, blah me like
ways.
No, like, what does it validate? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna,
specific. I mean, here's the thing, right?
I want to talk through it because I think it's important for our listeners to like have something that they can take away to understand exactly what we mean.
So what I mean by the end, right? The end could be, and I'm spitballing here. The end to the land nav could be, all students must show their proficiency by getting 4 out of 5.
Sure.
Right?
That's what I said.
That's the end. That's the end.
Sure.
But what I am adding to this argument is the fact that the stool itself is the policy, right? The policy is
the tool. You're saying that the tool itself is proficient students in land navigation.
There you go.
And the end of that is that we will know that our students are proficient when they are able to find 4 points out of 5 in 5 hours, light and dark.
There you go.
And the
So
ways could be dead reckoning. The ways could be map, compass, right? The means, and in this case, the means are like they have a map, they have a compass,
there
they
you go.
have the day and night. I
That's
get
how
it.
I see it. That's
Yeah.
how I see it.
That's what I said.
No. You said the ends was the stool. That the disagreement that we're having here is that I think the ends still serves as a pillar, like it's one of the legs. There's three legs: ends, ways, and means. But the stool itself, the entire stool, is the policy. But underneath the policy is the strategy to achieve that, and then that's where you get your ends, ways, and means.
I get you. I understand what you mean. But nonetheless, I think that it's complicated. And this is where maybe sometimes people are overthinking the problem set. At the end of the day, if the policy goal is to have proficient land navigation students, the ends, are the ways that you are able to prove that that's the case. So let's take marksmanship. Okay, what we want is we want students that are proficient in marksmanship. The way that the ends in this situation is that we have a marksmanship test at these various targets and distances, and we want, 34 out of 40, or I can't even remember what it is in the Army, but 28, 30, I don't know. I always shot 37, so, or 40, but,
Prove it.
I got the sheets, bro. Like, I'm obsessed, so it's fine. No. And so I mean, I think yes, right. But what I'm arguing about is that there's an overemphasis on the journey. And again, like, let's go back to the land navigation, for example. Like, you can plot your points on the map and use like the contour lines and use all the like reach. I can't remember what it's called. I just know how to do it. Like, where you take 2 points and you're able to figure out where you are.
Yeah.
And all of these various mechanisms. But to
Your
be real with
your
you, you
attack
could
plan.
also just
Yeah.
eyeball that bad boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really know how to read
Like
contour
terrain
lines and stuff,
associate?
yeah,
Yeah.
terrain associate. You could just be like, okay,
Yeah.
the mountain's right there.
Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could not use grids. Like, the better I got at it, I used to be like, oh, okay, it's in a valley. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the valley and walk around, and I'll know I'm in this valley because I'm gonna be like, okay, that way is east. All right, bet. So this thing should be somewhere around here. I'm just gonna run around until I find it. I ran through a swamp one time, and I was like looking around. I ran into another Ranger student. He was like, man, I think I'm about to give up. And literally, it was a blessing from God. This guy said he was gonna give up. And I literally, when I heard that, I was like, ew. Like, I was like, ew, like, I'm not giving up. And as soon as I was like, I literally said, F that. And I turned to my right, and there was the point. It was amazing. It was like my faith in the situation illuminated the point for me. But I mean, I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, my general point is that I think a laser focus on being able to accomplish, or like faith and belief in the ability to accomplish the strategic objective, regardless of the ways and the means, is necessary no matter what how you're going to get it done, I guess, is my point. So that's what I'm saying again about the ends being supported by the ways and means.
I don't think any of those things go away. You know what I mean? Like, you can have an end. Listen, there's so many people with ends, you know what I mean? And they never mobilize to the end. They just have this end in their head.
No, they just have a policy goal in their head, but they don't have an understanding. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's the next point, right? You create this policy goal, and it's like, okay, I agree with you. There are a lot of people who have not done the analysis or the deep work to get to the end. Like, okay, what's the end to achieve that policy goal?
That's right.
Okay, that's the first problem. But even those who do make it to that step, still they become paralyzed at that step because they don't understand the process of developing the means and the ways that
they can't do it. It's not replicable. They can't do it again.
Correct.
Right? Because I think that's what ways and means are. Ways and means are a way to guide you so that you can replicate the experience, right? Like, I build brands for a living. When I made my first brand, I was really careful to make sure I was making like a phase-wise system of like, okay, what are the ways and means? But the end is to make something dope, right? The end is to, to me, is to make something that like is amazing, that people, no matter where they are in the world, pick it up and say, wow, this is beautiful. Now, the way that we go about that and how we do that, I found a system that I can use over and over, so that if we want to make an internal lessons energy drink, like I know how to do that now, right? I can start with the policy goal of like, hey, we want to make something that's like not too jittery, not too caffeine, not too whatever, and we're going to get to the end of this. It's going to be in a 12-ounce can, blah, 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 blah. The way that we're going to go about that is, going through this phase-wise system so that we can replicate it over and over again. But if I didn't know what we were trying to make, it wouldn't really matter about the system per se.
Yeah. I have a response that we can unpack in a later episode, but
Sorry.
I don't like when you say replicable. Like I don't agree with that.
Why? Like, that's the reason why we learn how to land. Like,
Because
that's the reason why you learn how to terrain associate, or how
yeah,
to do a compass, or how to do a map. Because anytime I bring you a map, you should be able to use these
yeah, I
skills
get that. I get
to
that,
find
but
your
it's
way.
over. I get that, but I feel again it's oversimplified. There are processes that you can replicate, and there are processes that you have to pay attention to and understand when you're replicating something that won't work at that next level. So as you're moving and adapting, you can't replicate it all the time. You have to pay attention to what areas you can't replicate. But we gotta put an appetite
I want this for
in
the
this
listeners.
conversation.
This is a
We,
comment below kind of situation. I want to unpack this too, because
yeah.
I'm unsure if I really understand what you're saying, and I definitely
No,
think
it's okay. It's okay. But it's more of a fixed versus fluid mentality, and I think there are things. But we could talk about it later. I do want to get to the conversation of eternal lessons and where the show is going, and it's not starkly different than what it's been. Outside of bringing on a co-host. But at the end of the day, Devin, I think, and you can agree with this, because the mission statement is we make emerging leaders successful. That's what I do as a
absolutely.
business owner. That's what I do as a leadership coach. And I've done it, throughout my entire career as a leader practitioner, making emerging leaders successful. And I want to do that here on the Eternal Lessons show. But I want us to talk about what are some of the metrics? How do we know? Because people are listening. I guess we could look at, how many listens we've gotten, or how many viewers we've gotten over the course of our time or existence. But does that really tell us if we're making emerging leaders successful? Like, how do you
No,
see
I
it?
don't I don't care much about that. I don't even have access to all that. What I care about, like, I don't even see the numbers, right? But what I care about is like the conversation that we were just having, and hoping that, there's somebody out there listening who has been, whether it's petrified about they have a goal,
Mm,
they have something that they're trying to accomplish, but they're struggling. I do a lot of leadership coaching and whatnot too with other founders. And one of the things I hear a lot, is people like, oh, I don't know what to do next. And I'm always like, well, like, that's not a very empowering idea. Let's
yeah.
find better words to do that. And so what I'm hoping, and how I want to help emerging leaders be successful, is give them some of the words and some
Mm,
of the ideas and some of the systems that they can use, to illuminate these question marks, right? I always say it's like a wheel of fortune. If you got a big question mark over your head, we want to turn that into an answer. It's
yeah.
not enough for you just to be walking around with a question mark above your head. Like,
Yeah.
what you're doing generally has been done before in some type of way. So there's no reason for you to be walking around looking like, I don't know, like lost. Like, right. We can illuminate some of these things so that you can have the courage and the capabilities to move forward. So I'm hoping that, every single time we talk to other emerging leaders, every single time that we have a conversation one-on-one, that we're able to do like what we were just doing, and replicate the conversation of just, hey, this
Oh,
is this is how I try to do this. This is how I try to do that. And I think there is fluidity in some of these things. And so, yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. And
yeah.
maybe
No.
I'll get the data sometime.
Yeah, I mean we're doing fine. We're doing fine.
Okay.
We got some viewership. Of course, we're not interested. I'd say I'm not interested in competing with other platforms out there. I genuinely, when I started this thing, had an interest to develop leaders and make them more intentional and advocate for that so that they're effective in anything they do. And I see leadership
I want
as
to
this.
compete.
You want to compete.
I want to compete. I always want to compete. I'm sorry. I'm like a
Hey,
real trophy hog, man.
okay, okay.
I
So,
want to compete. And
dude,
the way I want to compete is not for these numbers and all that. I want to
sure.
compete for people's minds. Like, I really want
Okay.
it to be that, like, yo, listen, I was listening to the Eternal Lessons podcast. Devin T was talking about this system. I'm like, what system? Give me a system so I can get some trophies, right? Like that's where I want to compete is in the lexicon of people being able to use the things that we're talking about as reference like we do. There's books that you read, there's podcasts that you listen to that you talk to your
Yeah,
friends about. And
yeah.
you're like, oh man, I was listening to this. And you ever thought about it like
I
this?
don't, Devin. I don't want to compete. I want to impact. And I know you're gonna roll your head, roll your.
All right. All right.
Hey, man, because you always viewed me as, oh, Shawn is on this higher calling. Listen,
Gosh.
I get when I on a serious note, when I hear compete, I instantly think of self. I'm
No.
telling you, I do. I think of self, like, because I know there are comparisons we can make. It's comparisons out there, like, and we can use these metrics or whatever to compare. But to me, it's like, am I doing better than I did yesterday? That's
Mm.
always been my view on a competition, because competing with someone else is a limitation, because
No.
I'll beat them. And then when I beat them, then what? But I feel like I can never beat myself, because if I'm always overcoming what yesterday was, I always have something to compete against, right? And it's myself versus looking externally and then getting lost because I'm competing with these other platforms. So I want to impact. I don't want to
I
compete.
mean, okay. Yes, but we're mincing. What I'm saying is that okay. So competition. This is important though, because this is I want to define how I'm thinking about competition.
Do it.
Whether we want to whether we want to admit it or not, much of the language that we use is competitive language in general. So if we wanted to say we
Mm,
wanted to be the most impactful, right?
mm-hmm.
Most is a word that is a comparison word, right? There is, it means like best, right? We got good, better, best, right?
Sure.
Best in of itself is a comparison word. It means that like it is the highest ranking, most
Sure.
impactful as compared to the other things that could be, or as just compared to itself, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
some statements that we will say that are pretty impactful, but there's going to be something that we say is the most impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm saying about competition is not even about everybody else. I'm just again competing in the sense of I want to make sure that we're delivering at the highest level that we can, right? Compared to what our potential is, compared to what other people are talking about, and compared to how can we help our listeners and our viewers do what we're trying to help them do to the best of our ability and to the
Okay.
most impactful. So
So
that's what I mean by competition. It's
we're
not that I want
saying,
them to be like the Eternal Lessons pot. But I am saying that. I'm saying like if you got a leadership problem, you're like,
come here.
come here.
Yeah, come here.
That's that in of itself is competition that pushes us to ensure that every time we're really we're trying to, or we are delivering the way. And I think what scares people about competition is that the idea that you're always trying to take it there seems a little intense. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty intense.
It
I'm
depends on it. Hey, Devin, you know me, man. I'm
I
intense.
do know you.
I'm intense,
And
right?
you want to compete all the
But
time, but you want
listen,
everybody to think that you're not competing because you don't
listen,
like what it
that's
says
not
about you.
true. That's
You don't
not
want people to
true.
think that you're like, that you're
Okay.
chasing the
Okay.
trophies or
Sure.
that you're chasing
Sure.
the
But
title. But
here's
the
the thing.
truth is, you are chasing the title
Okay.
and you
Hear me
are
out.
chasing the
Okay.
trophy
Hear
and
me
you
out.
do want to be the best.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You do
Okay.
want to be the best.
Hey, listen. We can go down this rabbit hole, but here's what I will say, right? And I will use I will use a real life example here. Okay. When I was at the NSA and I was a company commander, right? At the end of that experience, I was the number one company commander.
Nice.
Okay. And that wasn't only stated by my senior rater on paper. That was also a metric, an objective metric that the organization used to identify who the best company was. Now, you ask me, how did we become the best company? I didn't become the best company commander, or our company, we did not become the best company by saying we're going to beat that other company. We're going to beat that other company. And if you ask anybody that's been led by me in that capacity, would tell you, compete with yourself. If I can orient every person, every breathing human being in that organization, I had 160. If I could orient them on beating who they were yesterday, we would outpace the entire brigade. Right. That's all I needed them to do. I didn't need them to look and beat their teammate to their right. I needed them to beat themselves. If they beat themselves every day, it's incremental growth. And as an organization, holistically, we won. I know this sounds romantic to you.
No, let me tell you what you're saying.
But
you're mistaking competition. All right, so let's do this. Okay, I hear what you're saying, and let me unpack what you're saying, because we're saying the same thing, really. What I'm saying is that, look, what you're saying is that you are competing against the standard. And when I talk to West Point cadets, I try to let them know the same thing. When you're talking about your class rank, you're actually not competing against your classmates head to head. You are competing in your performance against the standard. Actually, golf. This is a perfect example.
Yeah, you're getting
golf
into golf now.
Golf is like this. We got a par 4 hole. Okay. So what you're trying to do individually is get par 4 or better, or you're going to be graded on how you perform in this hole based on the strokes that you take. Now, you could get a birdie, 1 under, you could get 3, and you could get an eagle, right? You get 2 under. Now, you beat me because you perform better, but also you beat me because you just perform better on the hole, right? You competed against, we're both competing against the standard. Sure. And there is a comparison because we're both competing against the standard. But at the end of the day, the winner is the person who does better against the standard. So all you're saying is that you had an objective measure at the NSA of what that performance was, just like a par 4 hole. And you were trying to get all of your team and yourself to get an eagle. And whether or not everybody else is getting birdies or bogeys or par or whatever, right? You're like, hey, we're just focused on trying to beat the hole, get the least strokes possible. And I'm saying, like, yeah, that's the same thing. That's just that's just the way that you can conceptualize. But at the end of the day, you're competing against the standard. Other people are competing against the standard. And there is the comparison between the two, but there's also just the comparison against the standard. So if there's an objective measure, if there's an objective measure
standard thing.
All right, let's do it like this. Let's do it like this. Let's do it like this. PT test.
Yep.
Maximum points on a PT test, let's say, is 99 push-ups.
Oh, shit.
Right? 99 push-ups. Okay.
Yep. Got it.
If 100 people are taking the PT test, all 100 could get 99 push-ups. And then everybody would be tied for first. Okay. Me as an individual, whether or not everybody's going to be tied for first, if we all get 99, I'm still trying to get 99 push-ups. Now, if I get my 99 push-ups and everybody else did 98, then I did the best. But I did the best because I was trying to do the 99, not because I was trying to beat everyone else. And it's the same thing that I was talking about hating to lose versus loving to win. It's an interesting way to look at competition. At the end of the day, loving to win is about maximizing the standard that is available to you, right? Whether everybody got a 99 or nobody got a 99, Devin T is trying to get a 99 because that's what embodies the best and most optimal performance that exists. And I think often when you're talking about your experience, like, that's how you're doing it. That's how you're leading. You're like, hey, we're all going to get 99s. Now, if the next guys get 70, we're not going to shoot for 71 just so we can be better than those guys. We're going to shoot for 99 because that's the most optimal and best that we can be. And that's true. But nonetheless, you can't ignore that that's still a form of competition. Like, I don't really care if everybody else got a 71 or not. It has nothing to do with me, right? I just want a 99. And generally, if I get that 99, then I'll end up at the top of the situation. But again, even if everybody else got a 99, we're all tied for first. But I'm also tied for first. So like, that's cool.
Yeah, I hear you, and that is a valid argument. 100% can't argue it. I guess what I am advocating here, we got to pivot to the next convo or topic.
All good.
What I am advocating for is I think you compete not with the standard, you compete with the process. And this doesn't sound like it doesn't land well when I say it, and it might, it's not this matter of fact thing. And it seems elusive in a way, but what I am saying is, you're in this process, right? Like, you're competing with yourself. Yes, you have this objective thing that you're being evaluated on, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't really matter. The conviction to your process is what matters, I think. And that is what I would focus people on. And as a leader, you have these guardrails and you got the vision and you're keeping them on task, because I hear you're like, well, if you don't know what the standard is or what the outcome is, then you could be rowing in a direction and it could be off.
Yeah. And you could have been shitty yesterday. That's my point, is that like you're competing against yourself. It's like, okay, look, same example. Maybe last PT test, you did 67 push-ups. Okay. If you did 67 push-ups last time and you're on your process and you've been in the gym and you're doing better and all the rest of this stuff, and then the next PT test you do 75, like you did 8 points better than your previous self, which is good, but you're still 24 points from 99. Which, if you're trying to run an elite and successful organization, should be like, if there's an objective performance measure that says like this is the top or this is 100% or this is the best, like I think people get lost in the 67 to 75 as a way to like pat themselves on the back about improvement, but the improvement is still trying to get from 67 to 99. And I'm happy for your incremental improvement, and we can all like celebrate that you've been working hard, but I'm going to tell you as your leader, we still got 24 push-ups to go.
Sure.
And that's all I'm saying, is that like, yeah, so I mean, I get it. And the process of like getting there is beautiful and all that. And like there's a lot of high fives and sweat on the way. But I mean, listen, for better or for worse, if Devin T is your platoon leader, company commander, I'm going to be like, hey, the whole platoon did 27% better than last PT test. And that's something to be celebrated. Let's clap it up. The reality though, after that clap though, we got 33% to go. We got more improvement. We got more improvement to go.
Listen, I agree with you. And, what I am saying as a collective organization, if you can get your people to become 1% better every day based on their own reflection, I mean, there's no way you won't win. And I've done it repeatedly, multiple times. Like, I've seen this over and over and over again. Like, Shawn Robertson comes in, I'm the new leader. Got it. Standards, super high. Expectations, super high. Guess what? Where do you fit in that? Figure it out. Where are you right now? Figure it out. Okay, I expect you to commit to getting 1% better every single day. Now, if it's that 8 incremental I don't care. I expect you to get better. I don't expect you to go the other way, period. Once we get your baseline, I don't expect you to go the other way. And then we have to reassess and address why it is that we're going the other way. And that tends not to happen. So that's all I'm saying. Like, the process is the competition.
I get that. 1% better is an amazing way to track the progress. And again, I'd love to hear from our listeners, right? Like, what do you think is the best way to do this? And the beautiful thing about this is that there are many ways to do this. And there are many ways that people go about this. Again, for me, my thing is that I'm always going to make the excellence our North Star, and we're going to get 1% better. But again, we have to be honest with ourselves. That incremental success metric, or like, incremental success up, is still just a part of the journey of chasing the excellence of which we seek. And I think that often leaders can get a little bit lost and a little bit, it's almost like patronizing. It's like that you don't necessarily believe that, to me, again, like, that by really, hounding on the ability for excellence, it is encouraging people to believe in themselves that yes, they can get 1% better every day, and that 1% can, compound into to the ability to snowball into the excellence that we seek. And, I think it's very hard sometimes for people, if you're going from a B minus to a B, you're like, yeah, I'm doing better. That's true, but what can get us from a B to an A plus, right? Like that's the conversation that we want to be having, all the time. And often people will say things like, I don't know that I can do that. I'm not sure that that's possible for me, right? And so I feel like that's part of the thing that I'm always trying to attack in people is like, why don't you believe that, you have another 24% in
Mm,
you, right? Like why are we settling for getting 8% better?
mhm.
Like what's the restriction?
Yeah, what's the obstacle?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
what's the problem? Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? You don't want to work that hard, or you don't want to do the if you sit down and you do this bench press and these push-ups every day with intensity and fire, like, right, and do the program, we can get you there, right? But it requires buy-in. It requires to show up every time. It requires your belief and faith that if you do the work, that you can get there. And I think sometimes we, in leadership especially, we can be a little bit like, well, people are doing their best. People are trying. They're really out there trying hard, and I mean, that's true, but they could try harder
yeah.
also.
Yeah, I mean, to close this out, I just have a quick example or story here, about what you're talking about. So, and most know, I'm doing this leadership coaching stuff, and I have clients, and one of my favorite clients, this guy, he's out in corporate. He's like one of the most intentional and ruthless people when it comes to his professional and personal development. And we were sharing goals the other day for 2026. And as he was telling me these goals, he already has them listed out. He knows how he wants to do it. And I'm always impressed by him. And then we start going through. I'm like, okay, what is going to prevent you from accomplishing that goal? What do you think is going to prevent you from accomplishing that goal? And that question in itself and the thought process that he has to go through, he's like, man, I didn't think about what the potential obstacles could be. Right. And then he lists out the obstacles. And I'm like, okay, let's understand these obstacles and why they are obstacles and how we can overcome them now. Like, let's get rid of those obstacles right now. So you accomplish every goal that you have. So if procrastination is an obstacle, if something else gets in your way, if laziness is an obstacle, you've made that objective assessment or subjective assessment on yourself, then let's attack laziness. Let's attack procrastination. And when you attack that, then this doesn't even become, it's not an obstacle for you anymore. It's like now you can get the thing done. The main thing becomes the main thing. So what you're saying is very similar to that process. It's like, hey, what's keeping you from doing this? And get rid of that. But it has to be beyond, like, why aren't you doing it? And then they tell you, but the next level is understanding why this is an obstacle and how to remove this obstacle even before it becomes a fucking obstacle.
Well, that's like in my line of work to share what I do as well. I have a lot of founders, beverage founders, CPG, which is consumer packaged good founders that come to me. They have an idea for a product, and ideas
Mhm,
are amazing, right? But what I have to coach them a lot on is like, okay, it's good that you had this idea of this product, and we can make the product that you're talking about. But
mhm.
if you want to compete or you want to be successful, right? Or you want to be able to sell your product or like get picked up by retailers and this other thing, there is a world out here that is beyond you and your idea that you have to make sure that this product is excellent too. So you might have thought that this colorway was amazing. I'm telling you that the corporate or the business reality of that is that that color is going to be a pariah on the shelf. If you're set in stone that your product has to be this color, I will help you put that on the shelf, or I will help you make that. But what I'm telling you is it's unlikely that that will end up on the shelf though. Right. So it's, again, like trying to understand that, like, whatever your subjective feeling about whatever is, there are some objective truths and some objective realities in these things that have to be understood in
Yeah.
order to do what you're trying to do. So there's one thing to make a product the way that you like it, and there's another thing to make a product that's going to be able to be proliferated in business and be successful from an economic reality and be accepted in the industry. And so I think that's the interesting thing is that, uh, if you just want the creative exercise of creating something, we can help you do that. But if you want me to help you make that thing be able to be commercialized, then that's a separate thing. And we have to look at that standard of just like the 99 push-ups. It's like, okay, yeah, we got your idea came in at 67 and we got it to 75, but 75 still is not going to survive out there in the streets. Nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I'm always coming from is like, there's just sometimes these realities that are true. Like that's just not going to be bought by anybody.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you try, like, because it's not good enough. And where do we find the line where we're able to tell the people who we're in charge of, or the people that we're helping, that 1% better is not going to get you there today. I'm just letting you know. Like, I mean, it's a feel good story. You did better than you were doing, but unfortunately it's still not good enough. And I think that there's not enough of that in the leadership conversation, that sometimes it just sucks and it needs to be better.
Yeah.
And, and that we have to be zealots about being able to communicate that. And how do we do it in a loving, empathetic way? How do we break down the problem set so it's not that the person is the problem, just breaking it down that it's just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So anyways.
No, this is good. Okay, so we're at the hour here. We got to wrap up, and there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about to ensure that those emerging leaders, our listeners, understand the process here and how we're going to do things, and even how they can influence how we do things on the show. Okay. So the goal to the listeners is to make emerging leaders successful. And the way we're going to do that, the process, is to have these open, candid conversations about lessons in leadership and how these two things overlap. What is the return on our experiences in those investments that we've made throughout our careers? And how can we uplift the emerging leader community to, run faster, jump higher, swim further than their peers, crush it in industry or wherever they are. So the how here is we're going to bring people on, we're going to talk to people, we're going to unpack some lessons, and we're also going to create this box. And I know I introduced this box to you and the team, but just so everyone knows, we're going to have this lessons box. And in this box, Devin and I, randomly at different points, we're going to pull out ideas from this box that we need to talk about. And some of it's going to be vulnerable. Some of it's going to be current events, but it's things that, our listeners have told us to put in the box. It's things that our team have, put into the box, and we just pull it out randomly and we just talk about it. So again, the way Devin and I want to lead this show, it's not about coming and being polished and overly prepared. It's like, hey, this is who we are. And we're just going to talk, and we're going to have candid conversations, and we won't say everything that's right, and we won't say everything that's wrong. We will correct each other. We will push each other. And we're also going to bring the best out of our guests. So that's how I see it. You and I got some work to do on what those metrics are so we could share with our listeners, because they can help us. They can help us achieve the goal that we're looking to achieve. So if we want to make as many emerging leaders successful as possible, then that means we need to get this in front of as many emerging leaders as possible. And we need to have a route to do that. So we can actually put our business acumen and our leadership acumen to work here and also prove that it works. So Absolutely. I think that's important as we move forward. Okay. I'm done, man. You got anything else to say before we get off this thing? Welcome, Devin.
Hey, I had a great time. And yeah, I always just want to hear from the viewers and the listeners. I think we had some good conversations today, that I'd love to hear people's feedback on
Yeah.
about, yeah, what they think. Is
And
it
how
a
they all agree with me and disagree with you.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, that's probably true in the current viewership, but hopefully my presence here will bring out the trophy guys and the winners out here, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my
To be
God.
unabashed about seeing
Winning.
the excellence and going after it.
Yeah.
Purposeful excellence is always a beautiful thing once you hit your stride in it, I think, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's crazy you say that because I spent a lot of my time in the Army, so it's an uncomfortable thing to say, I'm a winner and I want to do everything I do. I want to do it for the purpose of winning.
Why? Everything in the Army has, I feel like the Army sharpened my like winning culture because everywhere I went, they always had a winner, an honor
Sure.
grad, like everywhere. So to me, it started to become like basic training, honor grad.
Yeah.
Ranger school, honor grad.
You just
Like,
don't
you know what I'm
say
saying?
it.
There's top block. You say
You just
it
don't
though,
say it.
because there's
No.
always a 10%. Nah,
No, Devin.
that's you.
I mean, no, that's my peer group. I mean, or people, you will get.
They're saying it in so many ways though.
thrashed.
Like
You will
there's,
get thrashed.
I don't know.
Thrashed.
I don't
If
know.
you come out and say, hey, Devin, I'm gonna be the number one lieutenant. Devin, I'm gonna be the number one major. You better believe it. I mean,
yeah, but the problem with something
thrashed.
like that, is because it's like subjective, right? Somebody's judging, and that's the problem. Is that for the judging things, it's hard to do that, but for the objective things, it's not hard to do that. Right? So like we can go back to our first rock conversation. They used to print out the leaderboard and post it on the wall, bro. What are you talking about? When I got there, I said, I'm never going to be below 25% for anything. Because my squad's going to come, my platoon's going to come in here. I remember we used to do the jump master.
Yeah.
They'd be like, they come in, they'd be like, all right, sir, I see you number 3 out of 74. I see
that
you.
white slip? Yeah.
They'd be like, I see you, sir. I see you, PT test posted on the wall. They'd be like, I see you, sir. I see you. I see what you're saying. You saying like, we got to do it. And I'm like, yeah, we got to do it. I'm going to do it, And so I think that's the thing that's interesting is that like, I want to try to take away this shaming culture of like, I feel like there's a real problem right now in our society amongst leaders of people are underperforming because they're shameful about performing at a high level, right?
All right,
we worship all these.
We pause there. We'll talk about it. It's going in the box.
Okay, good.
It's going in the box, baby.
Good.
Anyway, hey, thank you all for listening. Again, I would like to introduce here Devin T. Adams as the co-host of the Eternal Lessons Show. This will be great. I'm looking forward to it. And I know he's looking forward to it. So let's do this thing.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me.